Friends, history buffs, and mystery lovers. Before you dive into this incredible story, do one simple thing. Subscribe to our channel. We will dig up dozens more of these shocking, hidden from the public stories for you. Your attention is our fuel. And don't hesitate to write your comments right away. What do you think about this weapon? Was it a saving grace or a fatal mistake? Read to the end. The most interesting part awaits in the finale. The apocalypse at the gates. Picture a scene that would make your blood run cold. April 1945. Berlin. The sky isn't black or blue. It's a blood-crimson haze from the glow of thousands of fires. The earth trembles from the unceasing thunder of Soviet artillery. The air is thick, smelling of soot, dust, and death. The Third Reich, that monstrous machine that had conquered half of Europe just a few years earlier, is now in its death throes. Its army is no longer the disciplined divisions marching through Paris. It's a rabble of exhausted boys from the Hitler Youth, old men from the Volkssturm, and demoralized veterans who already know they have lost. And in this hell, among the ruins of factory workshops where engineers work under the whistle of falling bombs, something astonishing is born. Not another insane Wunderwaffe project like a flying saucer or a sun gun. No. This is something real, practical, and so advanced that its concept would outlive its era and form the basis of the weapons of the future. This is the Horn assault rifle, the last gasp of German weapons engineering, the last hope, which arrived too late for the most terrible war in human history. What if the Germans had had another 6 months? What if this rifle had ended up in the hands of soldiers not in April, but in January? Could it have changed the course of the battle for Berlin? Could one soldier with such a technological wonder have stopped 10 of the enemy? Today, we won't just study dusty blueprints. We will take a journey back in time. We will look into the mind of a brilliant designer, analyze the economy of a dying Reich, and understand why one of the best developments of World War II was doomed to obscurity. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be intense. Born in Hell. The historical context. To understand the phenomenon of the Horn assault rifle, one must grasp the conditions of its creation. This is not a success story. This is a story of survival and desperation. Economic brief, the agony of the Third Reich's war machine, 1944 to 1945. By the beginning of 1945, the German economy, which Albert Speer, the Minister of Armaments, had once mobilized to an incredible level, lay in ruins. Impact on industry. Systematic carpet bombing by the Allies had turned Germany's industrial heartlands, the Ruhr, Hamburg, Cologne, into lunar landscapes. Factories that just yesterday were producing thousands of tanks and aircraft were now piles of twisted metal. Resource crisis. The German war machine was choking without raw materials. There was a catastrophic shortage of oil. Tanks and planes stood idle without fuel. There were no alloying additives for quality steel, no non-ferrous metals for cartridges, not even rubber for seals. Human resources crisis. Who was supposed to work in the factories? All men of conscription age were at the front. They were replaced by women, the elderly, and prisoners of war. Productivity and quality of labor fell catastrophically. Logistics crisis. Even if something was produced, delivering it to the front was nearly impossible. The railway network was destroyed. Truck convoys were shot to pieces from the air. It was under these conditions that the Army Weapons Office, Heereswaffenamt, formulated its demand for a new weapon. It was simple and brutal. Simple, cheap, technological. The phrase cheap sounded like a mockery, but for the Germans, it was a matter of survival. The new assault rifle had to be produced at any surviving enterprise, even one that used to make bicycles or sewing machines. Be assembled from a minimum number of parts, and the simplest ones at that. Use a minimum of scarce materials and machine time. Be effective in the hands of a poorly trained soldier. The challenge was colossal, but there was someone who was born to solve it. The creator, Kurt Otto Horn, the genius of stamping. If weapons designers were musicians, then Hugo Schmeisser, the creator of the STG-44, would be a virtuoso violinist, carving his instrument from a single piece of wood. And Kurt Otto Horn would be a pioneer of rock and roll who yanks strings from an old fence and bangs on a bucket, creating divine music in the process. Horn was not just an engineer. He was a genius of mass production. His alma mater was the company Grossfuss. Before the war, this firm specialized in the production of metal furniture and stamped parts. Sounds unserious? Now remember the most famous machine gun of World War II, Hitler's buzzsaw, the MG-42. Its legendary rate of fire, phenomenal reliability, and most importantly, incredible manufacturability. It could be stamped out by the thousands. And one of the key creators of this masterpiece of industrial approach was Kurt Horn. It was he who understood how to make metal obey not the cutter of a lathe, but the blow of a press. He thought not in terms of parts, but in terms of technological processes. And when, in early 1945, he was challenged to create the weapon of the future from available materials, he was the perfect candidate. He took as his basis, like everyone else at the time, the brilliant invention, the intermediate cartridge 7.92 by 33 millimeter Kurz. It was a compromise between the powerful but heavy rifle cartridge and the weak pistol cartridge. It allowed a soldier to conduct effective fire at distances up to 400 or 500 meters while enabling fully automatic fire without monstrous recoil. This cartridge was already used in the STG-44 assault rifle. But the STG-44 itself was rather complex and expensive to produce. Horn needed to create something simpler, but no less effective. And his brain, accustomed to finding elegant and simple solutions, produced a genuine masterpiece of engineering thought. The heart of the beast, the operating principle magic instead of mechanics. Now we come to the most interesting part, to what makes the Horn assault rifle unique not only for its time, but for ours as well. Forget everything you knew about weapon automation. The classic, in the Kalashnikov assault rifle, AK, there is a gas piston. Powder gases push it, which in turn pushes the bolt carrier back. It moves back, ejects the cartridge case, compresses the spring, and then the spring returns everything to place, loading a new round. This is a system with a gas engine. Classic too. In submachine guns like the PPSH or MP40, the bolt is simply massive and isn't locked by anything. The recoil from the shot throws it back, but due to its large mass, this doesn't happen instantly. This is a system with a blowback action. Horn came up with a third thing, a gas-retarded blowback system. Sounds complicated? Let me explain in simple terms. Imagine you're firing a shot. The powder ignites, the bullet flies out of the barrel, and the enormous gas pressure tries to push the cartridge case back into your face. The bolt begins its rearward movement, and this is where Horn's magic begins. There was a small hole, a gas port, next to the chamber. Part of the powder gases, which usually just fly out after the bullet, rush into this hole. Through a special channel, they enter a small, sealed chamber located right above the barrel. In this chamber sits its own small piston. And here's the key moment. These gases push this piston not backward, but forward. Yes, you heard right. Forward. It pushes against the wall of this chamber and creates powerful resistance. So, at the very moment when the bolt, by inertia, tries to roll back, the gases through their tricky system actively brake it, pushing the entire system forward. It's brilliant. It's as if you, running towards an enemy, suddenly get a push in the back. It doesn't throw you back, but on the contrary, pushes you forward, adding power to your lunge. As a result of this engineering magic, Horn achieved 75% efficiency in bolt retardation. For comparison, his direct competitor, the Barnitz system, had a rate of only 34%, more than twice as bad. What did this mean in practice? Light bolt, the mass of Horn's bolt was a ridiculously low 800 to 900 grams. For a powerful intermediate cartridge, this is incredibly light. This made the weapon lighter, more controllable, and the recoil softer and more predictable. Reliability, fewer moving masses at high speed, meant less wear and tear on the mechanism. Manufacturability, this entire system was incredibly simple to manufacture. No precision gas piston parts like in the AK. Horn didn't create just an assault rifle. He created a philosophy. A philosophy where smart thinking replaces brute force and complexity. Appearance and specifications. Austerity as a form of genius. If you're picturing a smooth, polished, ergonomic weapon like in modern video games, you'll be disappointed. The Horn assault rifle is the embodiment of functionality taken to the absolute. It is a soldier's weapon, without unnecessary details, without beauty, only death and efficiency. Here is its portrait. Stock and pistol grip, carved from ordinary 30mm thick board. No plastic, no plywood, just a piece of wood. Cheap, angry, and you could make it even in a kitchen. Huge trigger guard. Why huge? Because they had to fight in the Russian frosts. A soldier fired in thick gloves, and this guard allowed him to do so comfortably. Horn thought about real conditions. Two-sided cocking handle. It could be switched from left to right. This is a small thing, but it speaks volumes. The designer thought about left-handers and about how to cock the bolt more conveniently from different positions, standing, lying down from a trench. General aesthetics. The weapon looked angular, hastily assembled. But in this angularity, there was a certain severe beauty. Tactical and technical characteristics, TTC. Mass, 4.7 kilograms. Lighter than the Stage 44, and significantly lighter than a Mosin rifle with a bayonet. Length, 930 millimeters. Compact enough for urban combat. Barrel length, 410 millimeters. Optimal for the ballistics of the intermediate cartridge. Rate of fire, 500 to 550 rounds per minute. This is an important point. This is not the frenzied buzzsaw MG42 with a rate of 1,500. This is a moderate rate, allowing for accurate burst fire and conserving ammunition. Practical rate of fire was between 40 and 75 rounds per minute. Muzzle velocity, 633 meters per second, high enough for confident penetration of enemy body armor of that time. Effective range, 300 meters. The weapon was created for real combat distances, not for shooting a kilometer away, like rifles. Magazine, it used the same one as the STG, 44 a box magazine for 30 rounds. Standardization, another plus for manufacturability. Imagine this wooden soldier in the hands of a Volkssturm soldier. Simple to operate, reliable, powerful enough to stop the enemy. It was the perfect tool for total war. Trials by fire. What did the Soviet specialists say? The war ended. 9 captured Horn assault rifles, 5 from the Kummersdorf testing ground, and 4, riddled with bullets from the battlefield, were sent on a long journey to the Soviet Union. Our engineers knew exactly what to do with them. They put them through hell. The Soviet school of weapon testing was perhaps the most severe in the world. They didn't believe in German tricks. They tested for strength. The testing cycle was merciless. Endurance test. They fired nearly 2,000 rounds. For an assault rifle, that's a decent amount. Reliability test. The weapon was intentionally thickly lubricated with the most viscous grease, and then covered with sand and cement dust. The mechanism had to cycle, overcoming this mess. Stability test. Cartridges were heated to 60 degrees Celsius to increase the pressure in the chamber to the maximum. And what do you think? During the entire testing cycle, during all 1,900 shots, not a single malfunction was recorded. Not one. The assault rifle, assembled from stampings and a board, worked like a Swiss watch. It was an absolute 100% success. Firing accuracy also amazed the specialists. The results were on par with, and sometimes better than, the famous STG-44. At 100 meters, 15 bullets fit into a circle with a diameter of only 5.3 centimeters. That's almost sniper accuracy. At 300 meters, the spread was 21.5 centimeters. Still excellent. At 600 meters, 48.5 centimeters. For an assault rifle at that distance, phenomenal. You think that's it? The wonder weapon. Take it and put it into mass production. But no, our engineers were thorough and picky. They found flaws, and these flaws were not in the mechanics, but in the ergonomics. Uncomfortable balance. The weapon was a bit front-heavy, which hindered quick target acquisition. Vibrating stock, the wooden stock being rigidly connected to the metal structure, transmitted all vibrations into the shooter's shoulder, which could be tiring during prolonged firing. Inconvenient cocking from the prone position, that same two-sided handle, while convenient in other positions, got in the way when the soldier was lying on the ground. Faulty magazine catch, it could jam, which in combat is equal to death. The conclusion of the Soviet specialists was simple: the automatic system is brilliant and promising, but the fine-tuning of the weapon's design itself was not completed. The Germans simply didn't have enough time. Fate and legacy. What happened to the rifle and its creator? The Horn assault rifle remained just a beautiful but sad page in history. The Wehrmacht never received it in mass quantities. A handful of prototypes were scattered across museums and institutes. The only surviving, genuine specimen can be seen today in St. Petersburg at the Military Historical Museum of Artillery, Engineer, and Signal Corps. It lies silently under glass, and few visitors realize what a revolution in weaponry it could have caused. But the story of Kurt Horn himself did not end there. This is a separate, incredible plot. The Soviet Union, like a smart hunter, valued not only the trophies but also the minds that created them. In 1946, Kurt Otto Horn was invited to the USSR. Not to a camp, not to a logging site. He was sent to Izhevsk, the weapons capital of the country, to the famous Izhevsk machine-building plant. And here the most interesting part begins. From 1946 to 1952, for a full 6 years, the genius of German weapons production worked for the Soviet defense industry. What did he do? What projects did he work on? Documents from that time are still largely classified, but we can make assumptions. In 1947, the young Mikhail Kalashnikov presented his famous AK-47 assault rifle. The AK's automatic system is classic, with a long-stroke gas piston. But Kalashnikov worked in Khabarov, and Horn was in Izhevsk. There may have been no direct connection. However, the Izhevsk plant was the very place where the mass production of the AK was being set up. Who, if not the genius of stamping and manufacturability Kurt Horn, could have helped streamline this process? Who could have suggested how to simplify this or that part? How to make production faster and cheaper? We will never know for sure if his mind touched the world's most famous assault rifle. But the very possibility is fascinating. The German engineer who created the last chance of the Third Reich may have inadvertently helped create the main symbol of the Soviet Army's firepower. There is a certain historical irony and justice in this. The lessons we haven't learned. So, what is the Horn assault rifle? A failed copy? No. It is a road not taken. It is a brilliant idea killed by time. Its gas retardation system was not lost. It found its embodiment in a somewhat modified form, in the famous French AA-52 machine gun, and in some modern sniper rifles. The principle, where gases are used not for extraction but for retardation, proved its viability. The Horn assault rifle teaches us a simple but terrible truth. Even the most brilliant idea is useless if there is no time, resources, and most importantly, will for its realization. It was the last infantry chance of the Reich, but this chance was lost not on the factory floor, but much earlier, in the offices of the Reich Chancellery, when the decision was made to unleash the most terrible war in history. It makes you think how many more brilliant projects capable of changing the world have been lost to the abyss of time due to wars, crises, or simple human misunderstanding. The history of this assault rifle is not just a story about a weapon. It is a parable about a genius born in the wrong time and the wrong place. It is a monument to all unrealized possibilities. So, friends, would the world have changed much if this rifle had appeared a year earlier? Or does history have no conditional mood? Write your opinion in the comments. Heated discussions are what we work for. And if this story hooked you, if you want to continue investigating the greatest military secrets with us, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. We have many more stories ahead that will take your breath away. Until next time, in our shared past.